Welcome to Morehouse Metrology Matters. With right now, this follow up to Chad Harvey on last week, and now Lanie Pinkerton, our VP at Morehouse, who Chad also coaches. Right, Lanie?
Right? Shout out to Chadley.
Chad Harvey, Chadwick Ellington,
Yes,
Chadwick Ellington the third.
the Chad himself.
The Chad man himself. So Laney and I, as most, we implement EOS, visionary integrator. Some people could say president, vice president, CEO, whatever you want to say. It's basically two people that talk quite frequently on things that drive the organization and how to do it. And there's a lot of those discussions based on culture, based on flexibility, based on some of the classes we've had or discussions with Chad. Right now, we're facing tariffs, we're facing uncertainty with a lot of different things that we have no idea are going to shake out, more so with the government and our ability to be flexible. And that's tough. We talked last week about having a rigid cultures and systems versus flexible systems.
Right? Yeah, it's a tough time. It's tough to navigate rapid change, and then I mean, politically, it's a divisive time, and then some
Yes.
of that can sometimes spill into the workplace. And you mentioned the visionary integrator piece, and so we have a vision and a direction that the company needs to go. And as integrator, I'm responsible for getting everybody to row in the same direction. And you can't do that without carefully working on company culture all the time.
It's an all the time thing. And this is
Right.
where a lot of companies do not get it because we're coming off of a relatively bad month. Like we're expanding our lab. You're faced to start over with some things. Just you have
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
you
We
have
had a, yeah.
team member issues as far as yeah, somebody's mom got sick, somebody's
Hmm.
dad had an issue that was overseas where somebody had to go overseas, and these are key people because we're a company of about 35 people, and when you lose one person because of just
Yeah. Even just with
out of
the
the
flu going around right now, I've been giving people the heads up. If you become symptomatic at all, please err on the side of caution. Awkward school nurse talk like that, because when you're a small business, every single action has an impact. I think we all did a great job in 2024 of staying focused because we implemented a new ERP and did the building expansion. And so I think
right.
some of us were kind of coming out of that thinking, oh, are we going to have a breather? And then we got hit in early January with just a lot of really tough sort of personal stuff on the team that you mentioned.
Hmm.
So getting everybody to sort of hunker down, do the work, keep up morale. It's been a challenging start to the year.
And it's always hard. It's
Right.
never easy. No one ever comes in, oh yeah, woohoo, let's.
Actually, I mean, maybe sometimes we do. Maybe,
Yeah.
honestly, I think that it's a fun workplace. I think that's actually key here for culture. Is that one of our core values are is to have fun, get stuff done, and that have fun piece is essential. People mention it a lot because I think that what keeps us working well together is that we can laugh together here and that we enjoy each other's company. Obviously, there's always stressors and frustrations on the team, but I think the
Yeah.
laughing together is hugely cathartic at times.
It's fun. I don't think anybody dreads coming in. I mean, when we first started this, and
Mhm.
I said this was more of a me thing, right? Set the bar pretty low of, and I tried to do it for years to say, people go to sleep Sunday. We don't want them dreading going to work on Monday. Like, I have to go to work tomorrow. This stinks. The bar was set where hopefully we create an environment that says, it's not too bad that I have to go to work tomorrow, or that people actually look forward to going to work tomorrow. Now, that's a further stretch because, hey, if you're at home with your family and you love your family, I know some people like to escape home life too sometimes. So
There are moments
there are moments with
for all of
everything,
us. Yeah.
and some people want to escape work life sometimes too. That this day is just incredibly ridiculous. Nothing seems to be going right, and then it compounds, and then your attitude on it is what changes. right? I mean,
Yeah.
how long is it going to take before somebody gets beat down? There's a lot of things
Mhm.
with positive intelligence and thinking, and there are people out there that can take everything as an opportunity, can take every single thing as an opportunity. That's not really realistic for everybody, is it?
I think the key is balance, sort of admitting the strengths and struggles and trying to amplify where those strengths are and to, I don't know, I guess see the humanity in each other. I think that that's what makes a good team is like our team in the lab is fantastic and the culture in there is better than it's ever been. And I think a key to that is they all sort of know their strengths and work to
Yeah.
them and try to accommodate each other's needs. Whether that's machine utilization and focus on certain types of cows or whether it's scheduling things. Um, I don't know, a variety of accommodations, but the way that they sort of look out for each other is fantastic and something that we've realized we want to build on across the whole company.
Yeah, I mean they work together well, but then you have one segment of people, and they, even they have complaints. Like we're not perfect. I know that's a going to be a shock to other people, Laney, that we're not perfect.
I was still
Uh,
trying to pretend, but okay, go on.
oh, okay, yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah,
though, but getting everything through, like the whole process, there's the synchronous flow aspect of it. From the time that somebody contacts sales to the time that the work gets done, or we say the donuts get done, it's a whole process, right? You want to do contracts, you want to receive the items, hopefully you receive them all together. A lot of times you don't,
mhm,
and by a lot, I mean there's a percentage each week that come in incomplete. So then you're calling, you're trying to get those. And assuming you receive everything, then you go to contract review, and then you're hoping the sales order matches the purchase order, and there's nothing different from the previous time. Because another thing we do that we get in trouble for quite a bit, I would say, is, or as far as taking time, is we've done an instrument someone sends for calibration. We've done it the same way 10 years in a row, and all of a
right,
sudden this
yeah,
time the purchase order is different from the customer. And now the true contract review would say, just do it. And that's what they sent, right? We're going to go over it.
right,
Maybe you call them. But if it matches everything that was in the discussion, if sales had the discussion, the customer had the discussion, the lab still throws a flag, even though we've checked those two boxes. And the lab said, wait, we've done it this way for 10 years. Why are they changing? Or do they know why they're changing? And sometimes it's just somebody in purchasing got it wrong, and sometimes they really want to change it. So that's a little bit of struggle for us on the, do you always follow the purchase order, or do you do the more robust system where if we've noticed that anything's changed, that we take the extra time to confirm it? And there's pain all around. There's other pain in someone missing units, like something comes through and like, well, what are we working in? We're assuming we're working in pounds instead of kilograms. So there's still stuff there, I
right.
guess, overall.
Well, yeah, it's the continuous improvement, and that takes the whole team, I believe, and it's working together to. Um, I mean, honesty and authenticity is key. Both
Yeah.
the upfront conversation with the customer, in contract review, obviously, is that attention to detail and making sure that everything is clear and makes sense. And it's hard to know when to push back on the customer and make sure that they know what they're asking for. I think that that's where it gets tricky.
It can, because all of a sudden you've talked to an engineer 5 years ago that have said this is how we use it, and now they're no longer there, and somebody else has sent something, or
Right. Yeah. But it's a good reminder too that we're not the only company that has our frustrations and pieces that we need to continue to improve and work on. That I think it's a reminder that we're all human. Um,
Well, and the need for education.
right.
There's such a turnover, like working on different documents and stuff. The one document I'm working on now, LM1, working with a team, Ryan Kelly's leading the group on that one. Though they're putting in stuff like for lab morale, they added that's through NCSLI. They added a bunch of stuff, and then they just added in for, if you're looking for a lab technician, you should look for somebody with a CCT. Well, this was funny because this spurred a bunch of debate, right? That's a
Right.
certified
Yeah.
calibration
That's
technician. And boy, wouldn't we love to just go out there and have a
Yeah, that's a
plethora of
big
these
ask.
people to hire? Yeah.
You're just plucking them out of the field there.
It's like, how
Wow.
realistic is this? They have to have 5 years of lab work, and then it's testing their general knowledge
Mhm.
of these concepts after that. So to pluck somebody out, and I think a lot of labs go through this, and this is where I think we're doing a lot better because we do have that team and
Mhm.
we do have a better training environment, and we're constantly working on that training. Though organizationally, this goes back to with you and I goes back to flexibility versus not being
Rigidity.
so
Yeah.
flexible,
Yeah.
rigidity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if we weren't flexible and we said we'd have to hire people with CCTs, good luck,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they're just not, it's relocation, it's doing all this
I
and
also think
yeah.
about how many great people we would miss out on if we had that mindset,
Yep.
because I
Hmm.
think what we've gotten really good at is finding people that we can develop and train. And because we have that strength in the education and training, we have those resources. We've been able to develop some really great lab techs and just have an awesome team in there.
Let's talk about core values on that
Hmm.
because someone comes in for an interview,
Absolutely.
they're faced with, oh, where were you working? Why do you want to leave that place? What drove you to want to interview with Morehouse? Rarely we've been best places to work twice. Woohoo! Get that
Yeah,
added in
a
there.
shout out.
Though they get, and we've only applied. We applied twice for it. I think no, we applied 3 times, and then the first time we went through and made a lot of corrections based on the feedback we got from that. And the last 2 times, and then we went up. But they come in, they're handed a piece of paper basically that says, uh, promote a positive customer experience, raise the standard, right?
Right.
Uh, and they're given all of the core values. Speak your truth with an open mind. Own your actions. What one am I missing? Trust the
Have
team,
trust the
and then
team and have fun,
and
get
then
stuff done.
and
Yep.
have fun and get stuff done. And they're used to working for an environment where they're just a number, right? I don't
Right.
care. I'm working for XYZ company that they can just easily replace somebody,
I
right?
think what is key is that we and I have to sometimes step back and remind myself of this too at times when I'm feeling like we're struggling with a situation, but we hire and fire and hold people accountable to the core values. So it kind of recenters us. Um, so when we're hiring, we're looking at those core values because we want to make sure that someone's going to be the right fit, and that not just that they're right for what we're looking for that role, but that they want to be here
Hmm.
and that they feel that this is something that they want to not just work in, but continue to grow. And
Yeah.
a lot of what we get is employees who are looking for those growth opportunities. They were frustrated in their past positions, and that they want to learn and grow. So that culture of learning is key for sure. Um,
Hmm.
we we ask questions about whether they like to solve puzzles, and I try to make it a little bit personal in the interview, just as far as sort of what's their mindset, how do they approach
Right.
problems,
Right.
and that's been really beneficial as far as finding those star people.
Well, it's hard, and we're not 100% accurate at finding all the star people either. We've
Oh
had
no.
our share of people that like, how in the world is this person available? And then they come to work with us, and we're like, holy crap! And
Right.
then and then it becomes between Laney and I, typically manager gets involved, and then it becomes a discussion on how quickly are we going to put up with this? When are we going to talk to them about it? And when are we going to show them the door quickly? Because the wrong person can drive it down rather uh, and create a lot of damage. I think the one guy
Yeah.
created what about 15,000 in 3 weeks, something like
That
that.
was I think that's our notoriously most difficult and painful hire. Yes.
And he had 2 degrees on top of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we had a person in quality that had every initial after their name, and they didn't know simple math on some things. I regress on that, but it was rather concerning on if you hire based on qualifications, basically like 2 degrees, all the initials behind your name, like the CCT, CQA, CS, all of, I forget all of them that were there. And both people did really pretty much a substantial amount of damage. Now, one only lasted 3 weeks. The other one lasted quite a bit longer, and uh, and we kept going back and forth with it. Like you get
Yeah.
fooled by, right? You kind of get fooled by. I hired somebody. They're this qualified. They've done all this stuff. When are they going to show it?
Yeah.
And and initially, the other thing people can do is initially they can wow you with a presentation of this is what we're going to do for the first 30 days, this is the first 90. And then after 30 days, when it's not done, what do you do as managers?
Hmm.
You sit there and I think we've gotten a lot smarter.
I definitely do. As you're talking, I'm thinking about that, like remembering those sort of darker, harder times, those bad calls, and knowing
Yep.
what a different place we're in now, and feeling really appreciative of that. I think some of our more painful sort of personnel moments recently, unfortunately, were people having to leave for personal reasons. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're doing it right when you're really sad to see someone go, and that's happened a few times. Um, so
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah,
And there's
yeah,
people that the door's open if they wanted to come back, and then there's people
right,
that like that you always want to consider. It's a tremendous learning curve, right? Regardless, I mean, we're never going to bring back the person that was here for three weeks with 2 degrees. That's never going to happen. Though it's a tremendous learning curve to try to figure out all of this and how it goes together and who's on board, who's not on board, who's engaged, who's not engaged. Because honestly, like someone could be engaged for 1 week, tremendous, and provide a ton of input, and then something happens, and the next week they're just coasting through things.
yeah,
And that's a difficult. I think a lot of businesses go through that, and it's really difficult to have that kind of sinusoidal up down with some people. There's some people that are on a lot, like just trying to refine. The person that we have in who we're going to have on this that's handling the recals, he seems to be always on,
right.
right? Always trying to find a positive, always.
Absolutely,
So
always with the positive. He is fantastic. He was one of my favorite hires. Um, I was really excited to bring him on board.
yeah,
And I
he's
think
fun.
he's had a tremendous impact on the culture for sure.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's tough, but I think that like mindset's not just a buzzword, it's essential, having the right
No.
mindset, and that again, the culture of learning. People who are successful are the people who want to dig in and figure things out, solve the hard problems, sometimes even have the hard conversations. I think that that's something that's key because um, I think that people will generally reference struggles with communication in an
Oh
organization, but
yeah,
right, which who doesn't
yeah.
have that, right? In any
Our number
relationship
one.
or organization, struggles with communication, and go figure too in like a technical sort of engineering heavy industry, especially. But I think where we're getting much better also is in the ability to have the hard conversations and to work things out, ask the questions about why is it this way? Does it need to be that way? What can we do to fix this? That's how we're improving each day.
Yeah. And some days are better than others, right? And then some days somebody is there are days where one person can pull the team down. They can just be, this miserable, something happened, something in
Right.
shipping maybe that happened, a customer didn't get their stuff, the shipping one's a big downer
Hmm.
sometimes because you try to do absolutely everything you can to fulfill that order, and then oops, or someone else just does something, right, and they
Right.
drop it, or we mess up, and when we mess up we learn from it, you write your root cause, typically, we stress, just double box it, pack it with more stuff. We recently had one that was uh, they customer shipped stuff in without a case and everything else because it was more expensive to ship the case in,
Right. Yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
then it goes out and it goes out and it's packed in boxes, and the boxes they get the connector breaks, and now it comes back in cases. So the
Well,
only
that's
yeah,
it perfectly illustrates why people are so important. That shipping and receiving role is um, just really where things start and end,
yep,
and it's so key in so many ways, and not
hmm
just it's customer facing at times if we have a customer pick up or drop off.
yep.
So it's just such a key customer service role, and then in the quality, especially when we have issues, it's so often happening in that space. Um, and
So
so
let's
it's so important to recognize people doing a good job in that role when they are.
yep. It's yeah, you can have a
Hmm.
hundred things shipped well, and the one that's not is going to come back to bite you in the butt. This is where
Right.
1 minute manager comes in
Yeah. And to make
and
sure that
praise
that
the
one
positives.
doesn't
Yeah,
derail everything,
yep.
that's not too demoralizing. I don't want to be too Pollyanna about it, but like I tell my kids, we all make mistakes. All that matters is what we do after.
And if we're repeating them or not, right? I mean, that's
Right.
really what's
Hmm.
after. Like, how do
Yeah.
we not do this? You made a mistake. You learn from failure. So all of this gets analyzed. So if we talk of if you say quality, if we go into the
Hmm.
quality system, which is a funny thing where you have to have your managers meeting once a year, and there's a lot of boxes to
Hmm.
check, and I'm being a pain in the ass deliberately and negative on it deliberately, because we're running, yeah, we're running EOS, Entrepreneur
Hmm.
Operating System, and every week there's different meetings. Sales have meetings. We have other meetings with, but there's an operations meeting that's
Hmm.
every week on Tuesday at 9 a.m. That involves how many people are in that nine? I'm not in it, so
I believe it's 7 or 8.
7 or 8
Yeah.
people. Quality's in that meeting, and every week all of the complaints are gone over with the
Right.
team of managers.
Yeah, we
So it is
discuss the
not a.
fulfillment of objectives with the quality
Mhm.
manager. We talk about any of the risk assessment, any of the customer complaints, RMAs. All of them get a sort of debrief and discussion and to-dos and corrections.
So that's weekly that all those corrections are being made. Sometimes they're already corrected before the meeting, and it's just for your
Most of
information
the time,
thing.
actually, I'm grateful
Yeah,
for that. You have good people when a lot of them are being corrected prior to the discussion, and then it's just a matter of making sure that you're consistent. And obviously, like trends would need further discussion, but we've been fortunate to avoid those for the most part.
right.
Um, but
No, but
yeah,
that's a better system to lapse, because if you're looking at things quarterly or even yearly, right? This is
right.
where you get checkbox, and I don't encourage anybody to do just a yearly management review. It should be more frequent. There things should be brought to everybody's attention. Everybody should be stepping up, and this is where core values come in.
Mhm.
Talking with Chad on like it takes a long. It's more than just a rah rah. Let's hang some posters. I just saw this session, or I just oh I listened to Henry and Lanie speak, and it sounds so great. Let's go post some core values up on our wall and tomorrow will be better. Is it that easy, Laney? It's
It's unfortunately not that easy.
why
It's
not?
it's a little more than what's on the wall. To preach it all day, every day, and live it.
Yep, you're
Some days
hiring
are
and you're
some days are
firing.
easier than others. Yeah, the hiring and firing, and that's it's
You're
hard. I make jokes, it's awkward, but like the hiring process and being a little bit like dating. I was joking with some of the machinists about this.
mhm,
That you want to make sure that it's mutually beneficial. You want to make sure it's going to be a good fit, and
right.
it's it's because it is a relationship, and um,
Yeah, it can be a
it's
rather
it's a
long
it's
one.
it's a it's a right, yeah, it's employment, but really in the end what makes or breaks your job and your experience in your day-to-day life is those relationships.
Right. And we don't have any job that I can think of where it's like, oh, we'll just hire somebody else and they'll just fill in and they'll just read the description on the paper and life will be grand.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Everything. Like you can think shipping and receiving. Oh, that's easy. Just unpack stuff and pack stuff. No, it's not.
Right.
There's systems in
Yeah.
place. There's entering stuff. There's getting it to the right positions in the lab. Different things go to do because we're doing
Mm.
calibration. We're doing order fulfillments. We're making parts. All this stuff's coming in everywhere, and you got to get it to the right people. And when you don't get it to the right people, then somebody says, "Remember that order for X and X? Oh, I was waiting for a motor. Did that ever come in?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I unpacked that somewhere. It's in the shops." And then you spend 2 hours looking for it, not to figure out that, it's behind something because X, Y, Z. I wouldn't know anything about these problems, and
No,
I'm
this just sounds
in
entirely
such
entirely foreign and made up.
I wouldn't know anything about them. So they don't get fixed overnight, and they still happen. It's just the matter of getting organized and everyone on the same page is something that's different. It is a difficult thing to do, and Lanie's been doing a great job with it. It's just 30 some people. Someone's going to come to work with a problem,
Yeah.
right? Someone's going to come to work elated, great news, something great happened. The kids are getting married, grandkids, kids, whatever,
Hmm.
it is. And then someone's going to come with, "Hey, my son has the flu, and it's going through the house," or something else. "I was up all night throwing up, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to be in today." And then they come in the next day or the third day, and they're still rattled from just
Which
no
reminds me of
sleep.
the debate of flexibility versus rigidity
Oh
again,
yeah.
because as you're talking, I'm thinking about how we've had a bit of a baby boom here in the last year or two,
Hmm.
and just the differences that I see. I have three kids at home that are now, teens and tweens, I guess, and when they were younger, I feel like the culture was significantly different at most companies. But now we have a lot of dads that want to be more involved, and
Oh, for sure.
I want to encourage this and accommodate this. At the same time, juggling the needs of, like the operational needs where we're a small company, so sometimes we feel short-staffed and stressed. So, having to do that gut check and remember that we want to provide this flexibility and this work-life balance is key.
And sometimes we're encouraging people, "Hey, take another day," and they're like, "Nope, I had my
Right?
fill."
Or they're like, "No, I'm glad to be back. No screaming toddlers here." Yeah.
And screaming toddlers.
Right.
It was great. I'd love to, yeah. There's some optimal balance there where if I could just have an extra 2 hours or, do this and
Right.
everybody be happy. It's difficult. That work-life balance wheel. It's most people have, I would assume most people have it out of check. Right.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so difficult to say if you're in it to just say, "Okay, I'm gonna stop here at 45 hours or whatever the hour is that take. I'm just gonna stop here and I'll resume next week." Or, life getting in the way. "Oh, my kid's sick. Oh, I'm just gonna ignore that and they'll magically get better." No, you're gonna go take care of your child. You're gonna do this other stuff, and it's gonna feel out of balance really quick. The people that have had Sandler sales training, the one guy there that taught us, everybody would say his wheel is in balance. Like he had everything and he could live his life that way. I still don't know how. I had his books there as Ed Staub. He wrote a book about it. Yeah, it's still it's a difficult thing not to get involved in something that pulls you.
Yeah.
Uh, right? And sometimes it's good to get involved, and sometimes you kick yourself in kicking yourself for doing that and saying like, "I really didn't need to do that," and you kind of have the thought process. I know at least I do when I step into something. It's funny because the quote that Chad, our business coach, says is, "You can be to me, it's like you can be like a seagull," and I go, "Well, yeah, you can go in and shit all over everything and leave the mess for everybody to clean, and they
That's
are not
funny.
appreciative of that mess." So as like the positions, like overstepping is something that management has to be cognizant of as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think key with that is listening to your people. So I think
Hmm.
that sometimes certain voices can be elevated more than others, and it's important. I mean, the right behind you, it's illustrated in
Yeah.
the image behind you, but investigate
Mm.
is the first step. I think that
Right.
that's something that, we have to remind ourselves all the time to investigate, to get all sides of the problem addressed, and make
Difficult
sure
to
everybody's on
do.
the same page. It is difficult to
Difficult
do. It's
because
key.
a lot of times we draw conclusions.
Yeah.
There's a
I mean,
lot, and we
and
see it all the time.
especially
Hmm.
and that kind of comes to, like, especially with the amount of experience that you have.
Yep.
So,
If it's
when it's not your
happened,
first rodeo, you typically know how things play out.
right.
But you can still sometimes be wrong.
Well, you could be wrong a lot. I would
Yeah.
say I'd probably on that investigate piece, I'd probably say I bat 60%,
What?
60% right.
That's much lower than I would put it, but
No, I mean, because we
yeah.
start saying it's this person, or it's how deep you go with it. Okay, it's this
Hmm.
person again. Well, and then you find out sales didn't write the order or somebody missed something in the
Hmm.
process. So then you really can't blame that person. Then it goes back to sales. So assumptions,
Right,
the
yeah, but
famous
on
saying
the
is
people side, I like
assumptions.
what you're
Yeah,
saying because if
yeah,
you say, when you make that assumption that it's a certain person, that's illustrating that you have a bias there.
yep,
And so you would want to, I guess, just be honest and upfront about what that bias is and why, and make sure that you're addressing what those whys are, both with that person and then organizationally, as far as whether they have the right resources and whether they're the right person in the right seat, all of those things. So
yep.
I consider that still part of that investigation,
It is. It's
really.
a why. Why did that happen? I mean,
Right.
the famous one. Why? Why were you late to work? The Ikashawa, the fishbone diagram. You start going
Yeah.
through the different things, but yeah, and if you go through this, why were you late for work? Well, I didn't have enough money for gas. Why didn't you have enough money for gas? And then you can turn this into a really foul joke that you spent all your dollars at some unsavory club or on scratchers or something. Or you can just say, hey, I couldn't get to the bank and I don't have credit cards or, the lost my keys or the best why somebody was late to work was Jared, our production manager, came in one time and put the like a gear shift that had fallen out of, I think it was a gear transmission, a piece to his transmission that had fallen out of his Jeep, and he like said, "Go ahead.
Plopped
This
it
is
right
why
down.
I'm late. Halfway through my drive, my Jeep broke down, and here's the piece, and I'm gonna fix it at some point today. I think because we have all the machines." That one was a pretty good one. Another one throughout the years is one guy got rear-ended, and I cannot believe he came into work. He was on a motorcycle, got rear-ended, apparently went up in the air and landed
Oh,
on his
wow.
butt. And he came into work and said, "Nah, he just isn't going to sit down for a while because it's
Oh,
stiff."
my
And we're
goodness.
this was so many years. We're like, "Go to the hospital, go to the hospital." No, 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 no. So now I think now I think we'd force somebody to go to the hospital. There is a little bit more rigidity with that's not 25 years ago. There's a
Yeah.
bit more rigidity with
And the HR
let's make sure
compliance.
your
Yes, absolutely.
HR compliance would make for some,
Yeah.
and the other stuff. You want to make sure people are okay and they don't need to be this bravado like I just got hit and I can work all day.
Yeah,
So
we do still, I mean, we have a bit of that tough guy culture going on sometimes, and
sometimes, sometimes we have it with teeth lately. I mean,
yeah.
right? I mean, yeah, yeah. So
Painfully, yeah, we have some guys suffering with some teeth,
yeah,
unfortunately.
and they'll just wait or they'll use this other stuff. What's the stuff that do you remember the kit that they
Oh,
use?
I can't remember
Uh
what the stuff that Mark
yeah.
uses that he
Hmm.
paints on teeth for cavities, but
It can
I
stop
got
cavity
I got
decay.
these
Yeah.
adventure medical kits, dental emergency kit things for two of the guys that are anti-dentites, um, problematically.
There are
So
people
they
out
could,
there that can
yeah,
relate to this, I'm sure, that
yeah,
anti-doctor, anti-anything. I
yeah,
don't know what uh, one person in our Vistage group, I think his dad had 56 years without going to the doctor. I'm like, how the heck?
wow,
And when he did get sick, he was saying the last record they have is like in the 60s or something when he was like 10 or 12 years old. And it's like, this makes it very difficult for doctors. And that the last time he was seen was
oh
twice.
my, yeah,
Or they thought it. They didn't even have the record. They were just like, when was the last time you were seen? And it was like at 12 years old or something. It was some realistic. I know some people like that, and you never know. We're not, there are people that are like that. We're not like that with the organization because we need to be preventative, and
right,
we are
exactly.
looking for that. A lot of this stuff, like today, the discussion, do we go for ISO 9001 was a discussion that we
Hmm.
were just having today.
Yep.
It's like we're doing a lot of the pieces in it, but not all of them. We're nowhere near. We're not claiming compliance with it. do we go for it? And that's one of those decisions that we have to start talking through with the team. Like, what benefit does it have? Does it add any value? Are people going to go along with it? Because hearing everybody's voice on it is very important.
Right. So we want to hear and honor everybody's voice and opinion on it, but also remind everyone that we're constantly wanting to achieve more and more excellence. I think that is a term that gets overused sometimes in people's core values, but uh, it's not just continuous improvement, but it's setting just a higher standard.
Yeah, in core values, a lot of them. So into that realm
Hmm.
of thinking of core values, we sat down with the team and we discussed them. We didn't just pick them off a wall. When you say where's integrity, because people have talked to me, it's like where's duty, where's integrity, and you're supposed to say you said duty, but I'll let that slide right there. Um, the Yeah, and it's like, no, of course we want integrity, right? We
Hmm.
want people to have integrity. And I think that comes out with speak your truth with an open mind, right? We don't want people to feel a certain way. We want them to be able to be heard. We want them to trust the team. We want them to own their actions. I think these are pieces of integrity.
Yeah, I think integrity is kind of like the overarching theme of all of the core values. Raise the
Yeah,
standard.
raise the standard, promote a positive
Hmm.
customer experience. But if we just had three values that said honesty, integrity, and duty, right, or something
Hmm.
like that, it doesn't break it down as much as raise how to, because you're going to use these in management. Doesn't break it down as much as how did those actions contributed to promoting a positive customer experience. How will us not going for ISO 9001 at least compliance contributed to raising the standard? Can we raise the standard without getting there? Maybe we can. Maybe we can implement checks, but that's a good document in general on things to do. Maybe we go beyond it. Maybe we say we don't need these pieces because the risk is low on those. But a lot different. I'm just going to say a lot different than just having generic, bland values in something. Because I think we're direct, at least in my mind, we're directing people a little bit more to focus on some things, and
Oh,
hopefully
definitely.
allowing them to come out and voice their opinions,
Yeah.
speak their own truth, because not everybody has the same truths, right? To assume everybody's going, oh, I mean, half the country we're in a device, as you said earlier,
Hmm.
we're in a divisive
Hmm.
nature here, where half the country's um, on one side and the other half's on another side, and sometimes people don't talk to each other. So you hope you never have that in companies, but it's happening. It happens in
Yeah.
companies. People build silos.
Yeah. I mean, I think like a Ken Burns interview I saw years ago where he was talking about some of that divisiveness and kind of, I guess he was being interviewed about his documentary Civil War, but just talking about current times and current climate, saying we need to get better at having the hard conversations
Hmm.
that sitting down together and not just airing out those differences, but talking through what the reasoning is, understanding people's why, um, and again, investigate.
Huge,
Yep.
huge. Knowing about people, the Dweck's growth mindset book too is
Absolutely. Yeah.
trying to figure out where people are with things. Adam Grant's like givers and takers.
Hmm.
Obviously we want to hire more givers and
Yeah.
matchers.
Now you're naming my favorites there. Adam
Your
Grant's
favorite,
my
your
favorite, I
favorite
think.
stuff,
Yeah.
Scott Galloway, the algebra of
Yeah.
happiness. There's all of this stuff that Jim Collins, Good to Great. There's all of this stuff that we've read. Laney and I have read. Most of the management team has read. And Radical Candor was the last one. That one was a bit harder than some of them.
She had a lot of good stuff, though. It's funny because
No, yeah,
when Harrison came to me when we were reading Radical Candor and said that it was making him understand why I am the way that I am, I was like, well, there's a lot I could unpack there, but I'm going to take the positive from it because
there's a lot of
it's
stuff.
yeah, it is.
Huh?
It's in that asking the hard questions and having those hard conversations because the good outcome you can get from it.
1 minute
Um,
manager,
hmm.
which we obviously could be better at all the time, because not every time do we go praise everybody, and not every time do we reprimand somebody immediately when they do something wrong. You just try to get better at it. Sometimes you want to take some time to uh, and more
Yeah.
thoroughly on that. I think the biggest one of last year though was the flexibility piece. Like if you're a flexible organization, you can still have fun. If you're drowned in, what do you think, Lanie? If you're drowned in bureaucracy and
Right.
process and everything else, we're not saying do not have process and everything else. The one thing that we did talk about where we need to be rigid is OSHA
Yeah.
laws and HR compliance. Those are
Yeah.
pretty much those are very rigid in the
Hmm.
organization.
Yeah. But I think it's,
So
it's taking advantage of being small allows that
right,
flexibility. I think that often people sort of lament when they become a larger organization. They kind of think about the good old days when they were smaller and things were more personal and flexible.
yeah,
Um,
because you get to the point where I think people they're punching a time clock or buying time. Some people out there are downright miserable. They
right. Well,
just come
I
in
hear that
each
from
day
our
and
team all the time that like, especially the guys in the shop, they say that they're glad they're not just a number here, that they're actually a person.
right, because if you're just, there are some people, I know that. I know I have some friends that just like to go start work at 8, leave at 4:30 and be done. And
Yeah.
they're perfectly content with life. They make money. They do well, but there's very few, I think, of them of that type of mindset where just tell me what to do, I'll do it for 8 hours. Uh, the one that I'm thinking is a
Yeah.
painter, so that makes a lot of sense in that regard. I'll just go paint
Well,
for 8 hours every day, eight, nine
I
hours
don't know
every
if
day, and be
that's like
happy.
this is somewhat that's a more old school mentality, and it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out with AI and technology, even
Oh,
um,
AI is
that
coming.
the just how essential the soft skills are.
Soft skills are huge because if you don't
Yeah.
like your boss, those stats, I thought after COVID we'd see a change in those stats, and there's still like 70% of people leave their job because of their boss,
Yeah.
right?
So
I
yeah,
mean,
soft skills, emotional intelligence, knowing how to communicate effectively. Um,
and
it's
it's tough. It's
yeah,
not
it is
easy.
tough.
You got to tell somebody they're not cutting it, and you got to do it in the best possible way. And we go to these classes. You and I go to different classes.
Hmm.
The one, and they spout off like in this 3 hour session. You say, "Well, how do I do this?" And they'll spout it off. They'll be like, "Don't give them a shit sandwich. A shit sandwich is you say
Right.
something positive,
Yep.
something negative, something positive." And then they'll just spout off like how you not give the shit sandwich and stuff like that. And it takes a tremendous skill set to learn all of that. And there's a lot of listening involved too.
Oh, very much. Yeah.
And that takes time. And that's a
Yes.
return on energy. So
That's when you're referencing those classes. That I think the ones that make me most uncomfortable are actually the ones that provide the most value, and that's with the improv leaders, where
yep.
they make you listen to what someone has said and respond in a certain way within some rigid like framework of language. Like you have to use like the last word the person said as the first word,
Oh
and how
yeah.
you respond, kind of thing. It's thinking on your feet in that way. I find that to be like a painful but really good exercise.
And do it with excitement. So you
Right.
can try to mess with someone and you can say, my dog just died. And then, oh, your dog just died. That's not the greatest.
Oh.
With your inflection and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, great, you're going through
Yeah.
this. But these are things. And,
Yeah.
some things are bigger deals to other people than others. Like we sit there and think that's not a big deal, but it might be a big deal to that person and it matters. So. It's not easy.
Not easy.
Not easy being cheesy. We just quote Chester Cheetos there for
Is
the
that
thing. So
oh, Chester
yeah,
Cheetah.
the parting words. Yeah. Hey, do you have anything? Just be more like all the characters in Yellowstone and see if we get any HR complaints. That's yeah.
I probably shouldn't admit that one of my nicknames is Beth.
Yeah. There's some good lines. There are some good lines in that show, but I'm watching that and saying, yeah, they wrote
It
those,
was
but yeah, you're not
that
going to
was
put
just
somebody in
for
this crate or have a
when I was
fight out back or yeah.
we had someone in a building next door giving a hard time to one of our interns on the front sidewalk one day, and I went out and defended the intern, and that was when I got that nickname. So just in my defense, I'm not
You're
terrible or
not comp.
scary. It's that
Yeah.
I will protect an intern when needed.
Probably far from it with some of the things that were said in that show. That if anybody has
Right.
watched that show, it's yeah. But it's funny. It's funny how the perception and how people see you and the names I've had over the years, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. And they just were. It's just because you're the one that's creating order in
Mhm.
sometimes a situation. I used to call it 20 years ago, I would call it romper room. You go around, I see Billy, I see Mandy, I see the, it's like kids' gloves and
Yeah,
difference of cultures shifting from a culture of just lift that stuff to we need to use cranes, we need to be
yeah.
compliant, that things have changed
I've regularly
overall.
referenced celebrating Festivus.
Yeah, Festivus, the pole, we get the pole out and
We
then
air the
we wrestle,
grievances.
air the
Yeah,
grievances and all of that.
yeah.
But okay, so any parting words besides
No, just grateful to be working with such great people here. I think that it's the people and the culture that keep me here every single day. I think I've been saying that same thing since I started, and it's woo. I want to think it's 4.5 years
yep,
in
it's tough
now.
because you have
Yeah.
people that count on you
Hmm.
every single day for you, for me, for people to be more so you now to be your best self, bring your best self every day.
Right.
And everybody's watching and it's hard.
That
When
is
you're
really, yeah,
managed,
that is really challenging when with from the management side, when remembering that, I might be dealing with this or feeling this way, but sometimes I need to sort of, take that off in the car before walking into the building.
yeah. And let's not
Mhm.
forget, it's a rewarding and grateful position to be in. It's
Definitely.
also hard. And it's not something that's like I said, anybody that's managing people, because there'll be people that
Mhm.
listen that are, working, maybe our people will listen too, and uh, to this, hopefully, and they can know it's though sometimes it seems like it's everything's good. There's a lot of balls being juggled, and sometimes we're not the most, at least I'm not the most experienced juggler, right? You give me that third ball to put in the air, I'm not juggling it, and then someone starts throwing the fourth at you and the fifth at you. Guess what? They're
You get
all
hit in
they're
the
all on the
face. Yeah.
ground. Yeah,
Yeah.
or you get hit in the face. That's a
Right.
better one.
That's my personal experience there.
And
Yeah.
then you get hit in the face. So, and people would be out there, well, you should do this, you should do that. Well, at the end, I think it's just we're doing things. We're always receptive to feedback. We're always receptive to ideas for improvement, and we talk to the team and figure out if we should implement them or not. What else, Laney?
I think you summed it up. I think that's great.
All right. Well,
Okay. All
thank you.
right. Thank you.